Keep your eyes on the donut, not on the hole. I'm in San Pedro. I'm about to take a bus to Tres Rios. And I have a plan that has some holes in it, some things I don't know how they'll turn out. But right now I'm trying to keep my eye on the donut. Also, in memory of Mitch Hedberg, I don't know what I'm going to do with this receipt for a donut. This is Tres Rios. Been here several times before, and we're going to San Rafael, where we've also been before. But that is just the start of where we're going and what we're doing. It's actually a perfect day for a walk, and I hope that continues to be the case. I'm a little bit higher than I was at home in altitude, and so it's usually a little bit cooler and fresher here, as I've said before, which is very helpful when I'm doing a walk like today. So I promised it last year about this time. This is where San Rafael ends, and this is the road that goes over Ochomogo Pass, and ojalá lo sea, that is what I will do today. So the idea is go underneath this underpass, and there should be a way to walk up to the left. This is not something I would recommend, by the way. Okay, looks like this is what I'm doing. So I walked back to see this sign, which is good because it has a bike on it, and where bikes are permitted, pedestrians usually are too. I actually do have a shoulder. Just in general, anytime I'm walking along the freeway, I don't think that's a great idea, and I'm kind of, worried about disrupting things. But there's also like bus stops along here, so I think it is allowed. It's just wouldn't be my first choice. So this is what I'm climbing up. At some points I will have like little side fronted roads off of this, but I am climbing up Route 2 from La Reunion to Cartago proper in Cartago province, across the Continental Divide and Ochomogo Pass. And usually that side of the highway actually has a sidewalk, so yeah, people do walk up and down here. You can see there's also like a little U-turn or lane exchanger here. Another thing you wouldn't see on a freeway in the United States, except sometimes for emergency purposes. So this is more of a highway than a freeway, although it certainly feels more like a freeway than most places around here. Again, this wouldn't be my choice. Oh, and it looks like we have something ahead. I'll talk about that and maybe climb that when I get here. And you can see these diesel trucks having a bit of a struggle to make it up over this pass. So here we have the pedestrian bridge over the highway. Maybe gives a hint of how far I came up so far. And my original plan, because there appeared on Google Maps, and I think it's true, to be more of a sidewalk or residential area on that side, was to walk down that side and cross over here. But as you can see, I would have to walk the rest of the highway. I forgot if I actually knew that or if I just guessed. In that direction is the Precario de Ochomogo, an informal community that's built between the two lanes. And I couldn't really save time by going through there, and I would feel like a little bit of a tourist in a bad way with my camera out going through, how do you say, favela. But you can see, even in an area like this is some pretty nice modern infrastructure. This this pedestrian bridge. I'm not going to tell you. If you look ahead, you can also see there's a bus stop there, and people do come here. So the more sign of what I'm doing is okay. So as far as the physical climb, it's actually not that far compared to some things I have done here and done other places. So if you really look at that crest of trees, I think that is pretty close to where the pass is. So not that much further up to go. I'm not actually sure, because an ascent and a descent can be visually confusing to the eyes, but it looks like right up here I'm going to come to the somewhat anticlimactic part of the climb. I hope. If not, still okay. I believe that's Serviciento Cristo Rey, Service Center Christ the King. And I don't know where the exact point of the Continental Divide is, but it's somewhere along here. It looks like we still are ascending a little bit. And there's also, I think right there, there's a sign for Cartago. I'm afraid to not exist, aren't you? And you can see how close we are to the fields and meadows. On the other side of those hills, you would go down into the Valle de Coris. Or maybe more Torteja, but somewhere along there where I went the other day. And for now I'm just walking along, and I do have blue skies and golden sunshine. And along there you can actually see the train tracks of the Cartago San Jose line, which I've ridden many times before and now is closed. So this is at the pass. All the tracks and the highway come together because it's a pass. You can see how narrow it is right here. Okay, I'm going to put this down. So this is kind of the annoying part of some trips, is I thought it was basically done and in the clear, and then I see there's still a little bit more of a climb, and the road narrows, and I think that this is a lane I can walk in, but I'm just so nervous that I'm walking on the side of this ditch and it's difficult. But like I said, I have gotten to, or almost to, the high point. So, you know, it is what it is. So that was only 100 feet or so. Now I have this recessed sidewalk. So I know people are hopefully not going to drive off this and into me. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend this as like a casual walk you should do. I just have a sunk cost fallacy about connecting all the places I've walked. You can also see we do have a bus shelter up ahead, and along here we're going to start seeing maybe a side road. I've mentioned this other times before, but a lot of times places I've been on a bus, such as that bus, where I've been a lot of times, like even on a slow moving bus, it seems like, oh, there, those places are right next to each other. So I thought as soon as I passed Serviciento Cristo Rey at the top of the pass, that I would basically be immediately able to get into a side street and get off the highway, and it actually was, you know, another 10, 15, 20 minutes, but that is a part of these walks. And there is a cyclist going by, and looks like a sports cyclist. I would not be doing that, personally. And right over there, there is the tank farm, INCOFER, which I believe is the National Petroleum and Oil Products Company, and so they have I think like kind of a strategic reserve here on the border between San Jose and Cartago. And I'm actually not quite sure why this area has quite the share of industrial and commercial properties it does. So this is one of the few places so far where I've actually had a good view. Somewhat ironic, you know, we're going over a pass, but there's no places right on the pass where you have a good view, kind of because how the terrain and vegetation is, and then also because a lot of the stuff there is just kind of scrappy. But you can see the hills outside of Cartago, which are some of my favorite places. And another thing that is, if not my favoriteest, something I like is I actually get to get off this highway and I'm going to walk along a side road for a while, and I actually might not have to walk along any highways for the rest of the day. We'll find out. Look, there's a little log cabin there. Wonder what the story is there. Looks like a historic building. So I've been thinking lately about making videos like this, and one of the challenges. I've also been thinking about Miles Taylor and how good he is at this, where a lot of what I want to do is I want to find a framing for a story. What is this community like? What does it feel like to live and to travel here? And the problem with that is that sometimes it's hard to just take the scenery and form a story for it. And what Miles Taylor does so well is he can take scraps of footage, things that look like they're junk, and turn them into a story that you can really feel. And so what I'm looking at right now, looking down to Cartago from Ochomogo, I wish I could do that, and I hope I give just a sense of what it's like to be here. There's also a lot of history here due to the geography, And I didn't want to cover it because I don't want to be a guy like reciting a Wikipedia article that I don't really understand. But in the colonial time, Cartago was a separate place. It was the original capital. And then the power kind of shifted to San Jose. And after independence, there was actually a battle fought in Ochomogo between, I believe, people who wanted Costa Rica to be an independent country or a collection of states, and people who want to be part of the Emperor of Mexico or something like that. And then even before then, I believe that in indigenous times there was like a cultural shift. Who lived in the Cartago area and then lived on the other side of the pass. So there's all of this stuff going on in the background. And what I can show is I can show walking down a little road and I can show the city in the distance. But I hope it gives some sense of like, yeah, there is a sense of a change of state when you cross that pass. So I'm hoping that, you know, this road, there's like an underpass underneath the highway here. I hope there's something. If not, I'll walk around. I think there's another road. One way or another, I'll figure it out. I've come this far. Maybe I should have pre-gamed that vitamin I. Another thing I want to say, like in terms of framing conflicts or framing stories, is I don't really talk about my ideological beliefs a lot in these videos, except when I get really annoyed. But you know, a lot of people do talk about things like the global south, late capitalism, globalization, indigenous consciousness, you know, stuff like that. And I do have opinions about those things. But I also think it's really helpful to actually show things. And when I'm walking down this street, what do I see? Do I see a slum of oppressed people? Do I see a proud native tradition? Do I just see a nice little road? Sometimes I see all three of those things. I'm not ignorant, but I also think the best thing to do is actually to go out and see it. Okay, well, I'm going to put my camera down and do some walking and see what's ahead. Is this meant to be a pedestrian path? Across the freeway? This is the type of path, but as far as I can tell, it like goes to somebody's house or something, so I'm going to walk down a little bit this way. So we have a sign that says Camino Cerrado, but it might still be open to pedestrians. There might be an underpass underneath the freeway. No, it looks like it just does dead end in a freeway. So one thing to note, they are building a freeway here, which I know sounds toxic to a lot of people in the United States, but to me this is actually a sense where a freeway makes sense, because it was very hard to get to and from Cartago, especially there's a lot of freight that covers this, and there's adequate bus service, so it's not a matter of like, oh, there's no transportation options. Even with frequent bus service, it was just difficult when you have freight trucks and buses going through a road that can be crossed like a normal road. So this is one case where building a freeway makes more sense. Now, I annoyed some people by saying that, but I think for now this actually is a good thing. Or at least it will make sense when it is finished. Like a lot of road construction projects, I think it's had a lot of maybe schedule and money slips, or others have in this country, of course, and in other countries. Not a specific problem with Costa Rica. And it's been kind of, you know, it's kind of frustrating when you're in the middle of construction that looks ugly, but soon this will alleviate some problems, combined with hopefully other things like, you know, better train service and the like. This road has been kind of a rugged road to walk. So after all that, now I'm just kind of walking down a street in Cartago. I believe when I was at the freeway, it said 3 kilometers, 2 miles, 30 minutes. So, you know, just a short walk into town, and not a lot to say about it now. So with everything I've done today, it's still a little bit before 4 p.m. And I didn't even leave the house until after 12. And I think I got to Tres Rios and started this walk at 1:40, so it took me 2 hours. Makes sense, it's about 6 miles, 10 kilometers. I've actually kept up a pretty brisk pace, so even though in some ways I'm really proud of what I did today, you know, crossing Continental Divide on foot in a situation that took a little bit of Took a little bit of guts. I'm proud of that, but also it was not quite as epic as it could have been. And I've seen this on a map before, and I don't know quite what its status is. I think it's like Reservado el Parque Diques, which is like a urban stream corridor such as it is. And I don't know if it's a formal or informal place. I'd like to check it out sometime, but not today. I have a little further walk this direction today. So I will say one thing, a little bit off topic, but kind of really on topic. I really like going out and seeing what's in the world. And I'm old enough that I don't like to really do dumb stuff, but you know, I don't spend a lot of time being scared. I'm cautious, I plan, but I don't spend a lot of time being scared. Right now, there's a lot of fear in the world. A lot of that turns into hatred, into xenophobia, and people convincing themselves that like the world is like a war zone full of zombies. Fuck that shit. You're just cheating yourself, you know? So, I mean, one of the reasons I do these trips is I don't think people should be afraid, and I don't think they should be hateful of other people. Here I am in a foreign country doing something that's a little bit scary, and it's made my life better. Especially this part where I'm just like walking along a road and actually have a sidewalk. Well, I've been walking along this road for a while. Did get a little bit smoother in the sidewalk and less industrial than what I was going through earlier. And I believe up ahead, that's the roof of the train station. So that'll mark my return, the completion of the logic, when I get to the train station up there. You might see there's people walking around the platform, so it looks like the train station is back open. And I did actually hear the train horn, or thought I did, coming up here. Uh-oh, I might have to run because there's a train coming. Yes. So it says Ochomogo, so it's going to go a little bit further than turn around. Now I'm riding the train, and it was just a couple hours ago I was just walking along that. And it looks different to me now that I know what it feels like on foot. Train stopped, I think, so another train can pass, probably just for a minute or two. Since the track repair, the train actually seems to be running faster and smoother. So coming into Tres Rios, I don't know if it's because I just missed this route so much, because I haven't taken it since last year. But I'm happy to be here. It feels like it's going faster, maybe even smoother, but not that smooth. But you can't quite see it now, but Tres Rios is beautiful. There we go. That's where I walked from there to Cartago. So this is CFIA. We're basically back in town. Just 2 more stops to go. So all of this stuff is stuff I'm really familiar with, and stuff that's basically in my neighborhood. Kind of interesting to see it with a new perspective coming back from Cartago now. I just got off that train, University of Costa Rica, and coming back, you know, I looked at a lot of these places and remembered going through them my first time, both this time and last year, 2023, 2 years ago now. And it's just interesting how I kind of remembered looking at them for the first time when I was insecure or didn't know where they were, and how I've kind of stitched them together now and how I look at them with new eyes now. And I guess kind of the point behind that is there's a lot of stuff, especially in the world right now, that's kind of limiting how we can look at the world and how we can express ourselves sometimes. And even though those limits are there, if you know where to look, there's a lot of ways you can go out and see and understand the world better. And I did that today, and I feel good, and have some caution. I wouldn't recommend this particular route for everybody, but there's a lot of stuff out there to look at and experience. Also, it's still light out. It's not even 6 o'clock. It's like 5:40 in the afternoon, really, still. I really did have an adventure in a bottle. I did something pretty big, but it just took me the afternoon. So I'm happy.